whites are not monolithic. There's English or Anglo-Saxon whites, and then there's Dutch Germanic whites.
Sure.
They're all
Afrikaners.
Germanics, but yeah, So those two groups of whites, neither of them is bigger than the Tsonga people. I mean, the one is probably similar to the Swati people or the Ndebele people, all the other smaller minority groups. There's so many more groups. There's more Tswana people than there are white people. There's more Sotho people than there are white people. There's more Zulu people than there are white people.
Oh, come on.
There's more Xhosa people than there are white people.
I want to give you this data so that we have it just captured. According to data out there, white Caucasians are 10% of the global population. Black/African are 14%. 10% versus 14. And then the Asians are 60% of the global population. And of course, it includes the Western Asian, what we'd call about India and those things, and the Eastern, the Chinese, the Japanese, and the like. And then they also add Native American, Indigenous 5%, and then the Pacific Islanders, which is the Polynesians, at about 1%. Sorry, please continue. I just wanted that to be captured.
So for them, they feel it within their genes.
And it's worse when they're not having kids, because that number's going to keep coming
down.
So
what I'm trying to say is that trauma of almost going extinct, or it being a possibility that you can go extinct. You know what I mean? You could have 3 kids in Siberia, and all of a sudden a snowstorm wipes out all your kids. You understand? That's why in Russia or in Siberia, as soon as a baby is born, they throw them out in their little, blanket into the cold so that they could get used to that frigid cold.
And acclimatize.
To acclimatize them. You know what I mean? That's why their noses are bigger as well. So they've got more tissue that can stay warm in the cold to warm up the air, because the reason why your nose is shaped like that is so that as the air goes up your nasal passages, it gets warmed up.
You believe in evolution? Don't give her a long answer, just yes or no.
I believe in optimization.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have much time. I want to go through this quickly. I'm sorry to cut you off.
And sexual selection. Like if you choose girls with big asses, chances are your daughters will have big asses.
That's evolution.
Well, it's sexual selection. Yeah.
I want you to close off. We've got 15 minutes. I sat here with Waras, DJ Waras, Warwick Stock, and with Debza. One of the things that we sort of concluded on, which made me very sad and it hurt me, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, is if white people in South Africa, who are 8% of the population, were to leave this country, you're saying 7, would this country collapse? That's the first question. This is in 15 minutes. The second one is, where are black people getting it wrong in terms of running this country? Economically, politically, socially, because I believe that they don't. And then what's the role of politics in all of this? Do you actually see a role, or do you think it's just the fugazi, smoke and mirrors for the rest of us to feel like something's happening, but they're actually distracting us from what we should be doing? So do you believe that if white people left South Africa, you'd become another Zimbabwe? Why are black people not controlling this country, if you agree with me? And what's the role of politics?
So I'd just like to say that, let me premise this with this. James E. West, not related to Kanye West, I don't think. James E. West, born on
maybe related to his
February 10, 1931 in Farmville, Virginia, overcame racial barriers to become a prominent figure in science and technology. His work at Bell Labs, which is the Bell, Alexander Graham Bell, AT&T, all of that. It was a monopoly in telephony at some point in time. For 40 years and later as a professor at Johns Hopkins University, highlights his dedication to innovation. Johns Hopkins University, you found out about, I think it's in Maryland, around the DC area. It's in Virginia, Maryland, and it's one of the big hospitals that were dealing with, the COVID whole entire thing, and giving us what the latest research is and doing studies. So major contributions. West's most famous for co-inventing the Electret microphone in 1962 with Gerhard Sessler, a device that revolutionized sound transmission by being compact, affordable, and highly sensitive. This technology is foundational for devices we use daily, such as telephones and hearing aids. So these beats by Dre, they've got that microphone in them. Your telephone receiver has got that microphone. Your phone, all these compact microphones, and everything else. And even these big microphones, they've got that microphone in them, or that sort of use of the microphone. And that's why these cables are sufficient, because these cables provide enough of an electric charge to actually power the microphone, because that microphone itself also has got its own electric charge and stores energy within it. That was invented by a black man. So whenever they say, hey, you're on these podcasts saying all these things.
Microphones invented by the white man.
You know what I mean? But that's the electret microphone, microphone. So, he's got over 250 foreign patents, over 150 technical papers, right? But this invention, he did it with Gerhard Sessler, who was a white man. So at that point in time, you needed a white man. Do you understand? You needed a white man. The white man is the one that's going to be able to market it. The white man is the one who's going to be able to get the resources to, fund it and ensure that it can be produced and manufactured. And the white man is the one that was given, or one of those that benefited from the 2 billion acres of land that was given to white settlers at the formation of America. This is by the 1860s, the late 1860s, after the abolition of slavery. Black people do not have that advantage. They don't have the land. They can't build factories and everything else. This guy, he was also responsible for the invention of the light bulb with Thomas Edison, or a part of it. He worked in the team. He's one of the contributors to the light bulb. He started the Association for Black Laboratory Employees, called ABLE, in 1970 at Bell Labs. Also the Corporate Research Fellowship Program, which was a summer research program mentoring 500 non-white graduates, improving diversity for women, underrepresented minorities. And those are some of the things that he was able to do within his lifetime. We are the first generation of blacks that doesn't have to fight for civil rights like his generation did. Civil rights was only granted when he was 33 years old, in 1964. We got our civil rights as Black South Africans in 1996, when the Constitution was adopted. You know what I mean? Again, we also haven't had our civil rights for that long. It's been 29 years